What's up, y'all? It's Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show on Social Suplex Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Listener discretion is advised at all times.
Listening to another episode of the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. My name is Clive, and I'm joined by the returning, the not bitter, the placid, and thankful for having someone like Rance as a friend in his life, Ricky. Ricky, welcome back to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show.
It's good to be back. Thank you for filling in, Rance. You've done a splendid job.
How's things going with Tolly? Have you started working on any ideas yet?
We have actually. The podcast is due to be released never. So yeah, there we go. There was a one and done, as we mentioned last week.
With Tolly couldn't even make it.
Yep, and then I left after like 30 seconds.
It was a joyous 30 seconds. But we've got you for the evening.
I like to think so.
That's what she said. We've got you for the whole evening tonight, so the listeners are blessed with your audio presence, as it were.
Well, I don't know if blessed is the right word, but you got us back together. The band is back together.
I'm very happy to see and hear you.
I'm happy to be back.
Good.
It's been a long, 7 or 8 weeks, I think.
It has indeed. So, this week, ladies and gents, it's been a while. We've done a couple of listener questions this year, but probably through the promise or the tease that Ricky will actually be back this week, we got an absolute influx of questions from Twitter. Your typical wrestling questions, WWE, New Japan, AEW, and the likes, but there's quite an eclectic mix of questions tonight. So I'm going to leave it in the capable hands of the question holder himself, Ricky, to posit the questions, and we'll have a good chinwag, give you listeners some chucks and yucks to see you through your day, and maybe some insight as well.
Yep. Right. So let me just get on to Twitter. Right. The first one. First one is, I like this question from Calf, actually. Calf _67. How's life, Ricky, and how's life, Clive? Life is what it is at the moment. It's neither up, it's up and down, but we're all kind of in the same boat, kind of getting on with things. It sucks at times, and yeah, could be better, but we're alive, healthy-ish.
Kind of.
Yourself, Clive? Yep, kind of.
Well, I want to thank Kath for that question. That is nice of you to ask that. And it's no secret. I mean, everyone's had a shitstorm of a year and a half for many reasons, whether COVID or otherwise. Still in the midst of that now and again. Not too much, but things are going well, plodding along. I made spaghetti bolognese for dinner tonight, and apparently I'm really good at it. So if you want my recipe for this big ball, give me a shout and I'll let you know how it's done.
Excellent.
Yep, so I'm quite pleased with the feedback I got for the spaghetti bolognese. So thanks you, Kath. How about you?
Well, if only they would allow American and Canadian married couples to be with one another, I think she would be doing a lot better than she is.
Aye, things are well now for them, but that was a shitty time. Still is for some.
Yep. Right, okay, so I will just start from the top. Right, here we go. This is from 5 Nerds Go, so there's 3 questions here. So they're all, some are wrestling related, some are not. 5 Nerds Go. What thing would you most like to deep fry that hasn't already been done? It hasn't already been in Scotland after someone did a colony caterpillar cake. I didn't realise someone deep fried a colony caterpillar cake.
Neither did I.
For our non-UK people, colony caterpillar cake is a Marks and Spencer's cake, which is fantastic. And if you didn't know already, up here in Scotland, we deep fry, batter, whatever you want to call it, just about fucking anything.
Not true.
Mars bars, Snickers. Sorry?
I've never seen them. Never seen one in my life.
Colony caterpillar cake?
No, a deep fried anything other than what you usually get in a chip shop.
Oh, really? Like Mars bars, Snickers,
I've never.
all sorts. Deep fried pizza.
A deep fried pizza, yes, I've seen. See, I would probably say like a black pudding, but they do black pudding deep fried already.
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Maybe a square sausage.
That would be interesting.
A lawn square sausage, that would be my choice. I think that would be quite the treat.
I bet you that's already been done.
That'll be good for if you've just come out of a good swimming session in the morning with your pals or family, and it's like, 11:30, 11:45 during the day. So right, it's past breakfast and it's nearly lunch, so I'll have a square sausage supper.
Or a deep fried potato scalded egg.
I wonder how a deep fried egg would turn out. Because it would be encased, it would work quite well, I think.
I don't know if it would work. Surely the yolk would break as you like batter it and then try to scoop up. No, maybe it wouldn't. Could be interesting.
Need to open it.
You might need to try that. Right, this is rather random. What would you rather fight, a Freddo or a jelly snake if they were real?
Fight?
Yes.
Well, probably a Freddo, because the jelly snakes would just tangle around your wrist and...
True, and if the Freddo's made of chocolate, then you could just turn the heat up and melt it.
Uh-huh. Throw fists of fire.
That's it, just turn the temperature up in the house. Right, last one from here. What's the best preparation of potatoes?
Deep fried.
Deep fried? That's just a fritter, isn't it?
Well, it's funny, we were talking about baked potatoes a couple of months ago, were we not?
I think so. Oh, we were.
It's a tough question because they come in many joyous forms. Do you know, chips, French fries? Is that too much of a cop-out answer?
Probably. I don't think you can beat the good old-fashioned roast potato.
Oh, or a potato croquette.
Oh, yes. Right. Moving on. This comes from Murray, Muzza_44. 3 questions. How do you fancy our chances at the Euros? And just to tie in the second one, it says first ever time watching Scotland a major tournament. What was your first time and what do you remember from it? How do we fancy our chance? I think we can get out of the group. I think that Croatia game is huge and it's going to be the last game. If we beat Czech Republic, I think it sets it up nicely for that Croatia game, because I think basically the winner goes through in that moment, because I expect England to win all 3 games.
Probably.
But I definitely fancy our chances to get through the group. I think it's a decent team. I think there's some quality all over the place. Defensively, I think they're pretty decent. I like our midfield. And first time watching Scotland Major 2, what was your first time? I think the first time was probably Euro 96.
Yep.
And obviously it's a Gaza goal, you probably remember more than anything. But I would more say France 98 sticks out that little bit more, because obviously we were a little bit older. I think I was in primary 7 at that point. And I remember watching Brazil versus Scotland in the first. I think it was the first game.
It was the first game, and Tom Boyd scored his own goal. The prick.
Yep. So those were probably my early memories, but like I said, I'm looking forward to Euros. I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to do.
I'm not too. I mean, this is literally uncharted territory for a generation of Scotland fans and players. So there's going to be some people in that team who weren't alive when Scotland were last in the World Cup or the Euros. So from that side of things, it is uncharted territory. They've just been pretty dogged in their affairs so far. I can't see anything flashy. I can't see any upsets. If they do get through, it will be with tightly squeezed 1-0 victories here and there. I don't see it being a sort of exuberant display or anything.
No, but I think we know that anyway.
I know.
It's not going to be flashy.
I was in France with the school during World Cup '98, so that's where France was. So it was World Cup fever, which was good.
Yep.
But my earliest memory was, like yourself, Euro '96, and the one that sticks out the most is it might have been the Switzerland game where it was all over for Scotland already. So it was basically just an exhibition, and I went out to the ice cream van for the family to get some cones and whatnot. You know, your individual fags and 10p mixers.
The good days.
And then I heard people shout from a nearby house, so I sprinted back to the house and saw that Ali McCoist scored a wonder goal.
I remember that.
So that's not exactly the earliest memory of Euro '96, but the only decent one. And that Uri Geller claimed to bend the ball when Gary McAllister took a penalty against England. Bastard.
Yeah, I remember that. And then they went up the other end and scored, I think.
They did. That was Gascoigne's goal.
Yep. So Murray's final question is a wrestling-related one. And he asks, what do we think of Andrade's debut in AEW, and what type of dream matches do we look forward to? I felt the debut was kind of flat, I'm not going to lie to you. I really didn't think... I don't know if it was handled well or whatnot, but I just felt it was really, really flat. Really flat. I don't have an issue with pairing him with Vicky because he does need a mouthpiece. And, I mean, she can get heat. Like, she's great on the mic. I think in an ideal world, they would have wanted Zelina Vega as well to pair up with him. But overall, I felt it was flat, but moving forward, it's just going to be so good to watch some of his matches. Really looking forward to. He's obviously facing Omega. I can't remember exactly, but it's coming up soon. Dream matches. I'll try and stay away from the obvious ones. I would really like to see him against the Bastard Pack.
Oh my word!
I'd really like to see that. Like I say, the obvious ones obviously want to see the likes of Omega, Mox, etc., etc. But Pac comes to mind straight away, if I'm honest.
That's a very good shout. I didn't see the debut. I do question having him with Vicky because yes, he needs a mouthpiece. Yes, heel heat. But what happened with her and Nyla Rose? That just fizzled out very, very quickly. So do they hold stock in Vicky as a manager? And if not, why pair him with a very, very good signing?
I don't know. I like Vicky.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Vicky's great. Just I'm not. They don't match well. They're not a good match together. If I'm being honest.
That's why I think they would have been banking on Zelina Vega.
I think it's a great acquisition for AEW because yes, you've got a lot of luchadors and very highly skilled wrestlers, but with skill, with those high risk spots, there's been an awful lot of injuries, an awful lot of botches. I don't think Andrade is botched material. I think Andrade is very, very technically sound, hardly ever makes a mistake, and I think he could, as a result of that, if the AEW is all about the work rate, then fucking fire him right into the main event spot instantly. because his matches with Omega, they've got the AAA title. I'd just fire him into the main event scene instantly. He's a big get for AEW.
I wouldn't do it instantly because I feel like they've brought in some high-profile people only to have them lose, like their first significant match or feud. Not a fan of that.
That's a good point.
But like I say, the guy is just as close to his perfection as you can get in the ring.
I'd agree.
So, and the fact that we don't have to go out our way to try and watch him on a weekly basis as well, which is nice. So, yeah, it's an awesome signing. And while we're on it, AEW and signing Andrade, like ex-WWE thing, just want to say, like, people take too much stock into ex-WWE guys signing with AEW. I think I saw something like 40% of AEW's roster is made up of ex-WWE guys, but if you went through to WWE's roster, like, you would say about 35-40% are probably made up of like either a combination of Impact or Ring of Honor, for instance. So it's just that kind of stuff is just like enough. But I think, and the other thing you need to remember, it wasn't Tony Khan that made the statement that we're not going to just sign any WWE guy unless I'm mistaken. It was Jericho.
Well,
so
certain individuals in AEW need to have a wee chat before they start saying things off the cuff like that.
Oh, that's it. But I don't take much stock into a lot of things that people say anyway, because you're like, do you know what, like, a day later, such circumstances may change. You can turn around and say we're not signing any of the ex-WWE guys. Well, what if Roman Reigns walks out tomorrow and is a free agent? You're not going to go out and get him, and vice versa. Somebody like Omega walks out of AEW, like, you don't think WWE are going to be banging on his door?
See, I see it differently with it. Yes, AEW have signed a lot of ex-WWE guys, and I do find other faults with AEW that I don't understand why they're not picked up on more. But with the ex-WWE talent, WWE have had so many wrestlers under their umbrella. Like, it's only natural that any of those let go are going to be in other companies. Like, think of the ratio for these wrestlers compared to other companies. It's huge. Like, at one point you were talking 200 active wrestlers in their rosters combined.
Mm-hmm.
So no wonder, no shit, Sherlock, that you're going to have ex-WWE guys in AEW. So the comment from Jericho didn't help matters, of course. But these things happen. It happens. Wrestlers are let go. They still want to wrestle. They're a big enough name within the IWC, which AEW is a market towards. It makes perfect sense. Some of the ones are a bit strange, the likes of Big Show and Mark Henry. Like, surely they're in their winding down years. But with regards to all the names coming in, not much of an issue. Just a growing when it comes to the slagging off WWE shtick.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay, look. Let's move on. Next question comes from the one and only It's Ray Cash. Rance.
Just the one from Rance?
I think there's a couple in here actually. What's your take on the Alexa/Shayna storyline on Raw, and your take on horror and wrestling in general? Clive?
Right. The Alexa Bliss story, this thing going on, is not for me. Just because it's an offshoot from Bray Wyatt, get well soon Bray, and I like it when wrestlers go into deep stories and all that. It's just one that I'm not enjoying. And I think with regards to horror within wrestling, it's a fine line, and I think it worked better way back when especially when kayfabe was a big deal. But I think now too many fourth walls are being broken down for it to pay off. If there's a tongue-in-cheek element to it, such as I can't remember what the actual match was, but it was like some sort of haunted house match between Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes, and there were zombies in there, and it worked well because it was all pre-recorded. It was one of those cinematic numbers, and it was fine. It did what it was intended to do. But when it's mixed in with real things, it's not for me. That's not to say what the women involved are doing isn't good. Like, I genuinely don't understand how Alexa Bliss is still with WWE and not in acting. She's surely been going to get called up at some point. But with regards to Shayna and Alexa, if you're paired with Alexa Bliss currently, Vince and other higher management clearly value Alexa Bliss. If she's not in the title picture, she is an attraction. YouTube views are off the charts. Any pairings that she's had, it seems like it's worked well in terms of her staying on screen. So if Shayna stays on screen, I'm all for it, because I was more annoyed with Shayna not being on screen roundabouts Money in the Bank time last year. Yes, Shayna's the badass from NXT, and I miss her terribly, I really do. But I think it's just one of those instances where Vince is testing Shayna as much as possible. Right, I'm going to throw all this shit at you and see what sticks. And if Shayna can pull it off, one day down the line, Vince will see all that hard work that Shayna's put in and say, right, there we go, we're going to put you in the title picture. Happens all the time. He's gone.
I hate it.
I mean, I have no issues if you hate it. Like, I get it. But I don't worry for Shayna's position within the company, if that makes sense.
I don't worry for either, but in terms of, just relevant to the question, in terms of storyline and horror in general, that kind of stuff I hate. I think when you look at someone like, say, people are going to say I'm just being, I'm standing for him or marking out for him, but I think if you look at someone like cult leader Bray Wyatt, that was never a horror type thing. You know, that was just a creepy southerner in the woods and I've got a cult. The Taker thing, for instance, like, you look at it now and you're like, oh god, that looks terrible, that was cringe. But it's kind of who he is and how he's been that entire time, so you're kind of like, right, well, we get it. I think if I was, so let's say, 25 years younger or something, I would be all on board and be like, oh my god, that's so scary, like, what the hell, you know? Mm-hmm. So I can maybe admit that it's not targeted for people like me and you. But just that kind of stuff in general, like, nah, doesn't do it for me. Like, could you imagine someone like Papa Shango nowadays coming down with the you know, holding out like the skull, and suddenly someone's like, exactly what happened with Shayna, but it's kind of like, oh my god, suddenly, you know, they lose a limb like we used to do.
The boogeyman.
Yeah, so like I say, it's just not for me. Just not for me personally.
I'd obviously rather. I'll be honest. I thought Shayna and Nia Jax's pairing, them as a tag team, I was actually rather invested in the whole women's tag team division for a good couple of months before and after WrestleMania, thanks to my uptake of SmackDown viewing. And I thought the women's tag team division was swimming along nicely. Lots of contenders, lots of clearly laid out, fleshed out tag teams. I had no problems with it, even with Reginald coming in and sowing seeds of dissension within tag teams. No problem with it at all. And I thought it was quite a nice dynamic between Shayna and Nia Jax. So to see that and then see the Alexa Bliss Lily carry on, not my cup of tea. That's fine. I'm not a regular viewer of Raw at the moment anyway, so it's not something I'm going to shout to the rooftops about.
Yep. I haven't watched Raw in a long time.
Same here.
Other than maybe catching bits that might interest me. Moving on, got a question here from @PC Tunney. Who have you got for Euro 2020?
Okay.
And he's got a hashtag Germany. Difficult to see past the French.
Mm-hmm.
That front three of Mbappe, Benzema, Griezmann. Benzema is the is a game changer right there. I think he takes them from being, in my opinion, like, I would say favourites to it'd be pretty stunning if France don't win it now, type thing. And then I think if you look at defensively, like so Varane, Lucas Hernandez, Kimpembe in there as well, and then the midfield, Kante, Pogba, Tolisso, maybe Rabiot, like Pogba and Kante, Pogba and N'Golo Kante together, like that's just phenomenal. You're not going to do much better than that. The French, although I'm not going to rule out Portugal, that front four, in a sense of front four of Portugal, Ronaldo, Jota, Silva, Bruno Fernandes all started tonight. Neves started. You got Diaz and centre back, Cancelo potentially right back, Patricio in goal. So Portugal are in with a real shout, and I think England will go very far. I think England will reach a final actually.
Well, I'm always a big fan of the German squad. They're a very industrious machine, and especially under Joachim Löw, their way of playing is exactly the kind of football that I like to see. Just driving forward. It's the equivalent of watching a rugby team play football, if they could play football, if that makes sense. Just always driving forward, always together. So they're a very industrious machine. But France, when on form, are a very well-oiled machine. They're very slick but industrious, and I think that gives them the edge. However, keep an eye out for the Belgians. I'm just going to say that every international tournament, keep an eye out for the Belgians. Because a few years ago they had a really good youth setup, and I think it's just a matter of time before they all reach their prime and shock some people. You heard it here first. Yeah,
I think the Italians are a kind of sleeper team. I think they're always a sleeper type team, but it's difficult, that says. The Dutch, unfortunately, don't have Van Dijk, don't have Van de Beek, so that's a big blow for them, but It's just so difficult to see past the French. I think just looking at the tables, you're looking at, England will play... I think who did England play potentially in the quarters? Sorry, they're in Group C, aren't they? England. Are we in C or D? What are we in again?
Oh, the group numbers I couldn't tell you.
But anyway, I said I expect if I'm going with French, no D. I'm going with the French. Definitely going with the French.
Sacre bleu, Ricky. Sacre bleu.
No, that's it. I'm just looking at the fixtures right now, actually. So the group winner of D will face the runner-up in F. So we are potentially for England. We could be looking at, say, England versus either Sweden, Poland or Slovakia. Like I said, so I expect them to go through quite comfortably there. Yeah, I'm going with French.
You should put a bet on.
I can't imagine the odds will be that great. Group E winner. So after that, see, it could be England and Spain after. But actually, I think England will reach final, and I think it could be England and France.
Back to the 1600s we go.
Yep. Barry, no. I'm not going to read your question out, but the answer is no to that.
I'll read
the
question out. Well, I've not got it open right now. Basically, Barry's going through a difficult time in his lovemaking time, and he's wondering if he should start faking orgasms. No, you shouldn't, Barry. What you should do is head on over to bluechew.com. They'll help you out. They'll help you sustain a strong, robust, yet flexible erection. So even if you're not able to reach that final furlong, you'll have a damn good time trying to reach that anyway. Don't fake orgasms. There's the hashtag. That's the hashtag that I want to get trending this week. Don't fake orgasms. It just ends in guilt on all sides.
Moving on. Rance asks another question. At It's Ray Cash, and he asks, "Is wrestling better off with or without crowds, and why?" Bit of both.
Yes, I was thinking that.
I think I've enjoyed watching a lot of the matches without fans, but then when you saw the fans at AEW and then WrestleMania as well, you know, you're kind of like, oh, this is amazing. And same with football in a sense as well. When you saw the fans, you're like, I've actually forgot what it's like now, and you kind of forget how good it can be at times. Maybe even if they'd done fans at just pay-per-views only, I don't know.
Yeah, or the Big Four.
I don't think there's a definitive right answer there for myself, if I'm honest.
You're right, I agree with you. There isn't a definitive answer because, yes, especially things like NXT takeovers where like it's a very smart heavy crowd and they'll eat up anything you do and it works really well for them. Or your WrestleManias or your SummerSlams, which is the sort of the cool kids WrestleMania where you get the matches that you want and all that. So from a sort of pomp and circumstance side of things, I would say you do need a crowd. It's better with a crowd, especially for specific moments. But it's a very hard ask to say that some wrestlers have not benefited and increased their own character stock greatly during the silent arena era or the sort of sound studio era. Talked about it last week. Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief stuff, when that started, that would not be where it is today if we weren't able to hear that quiet, menacing dialogue between that he directed at Jey Uso in that first match, defending the Universal title, and everything that led on from that. We would not have got that if we had a crowd. Yep. So I'm always thankful for that because, like, genuinely, this is one of the best world's main event title runs I've seen in maybe ever. I don't know. That's a hot take, maybe not, but it's very superlative in my opinion. You wouldn't have seen the greatness of Bayley's descent into utter madness over the last wee while. Sami Zayn's descent into madness with all the shouting and the barking. Asuka in the sort of springtime, summertime. Nikki Cross in the springtime, summertime. A lot of these wrestlers thrived without any fan in attendance. So it's really hard. I mean, the Dexter Lumis thing during the springtime last year, not even any fans at ringside, if it was extras or trainees. The whole Dexter Lumis gimmick works really well with nobody there at all. It just added to the sort of claustrophobic silence he brings to everything. So it's a really hard question to answer definitively, but
yep,
it's a good talking point, and it's one of those ones you could say who works best without.
Yep. Right, moving on. Quite a few more to get through. This comes from the one and only Tolly himself at Rain Counter. WWE brings back the hardcore title. Who are you picking as your first badge of challengers to establish the division?
That's a tough question because...
It is, because I wouldn't bring the title back.
No, it's because there's a 24/7 title just now.
Yeah, well, I say that's scrapped.
Right.
But I wouldn't bring it back because I think it'd be such a diluted version of what the original actually was.
Aye, it would be like these fucking...
for obvious reasons, I'm not saying I want to see people like being ripped from limb and, you know, taking headshots and all that, but it just wouldn't be... It wouldn't feel that hardcore in a sense, I think. Just... No, I wouldn't, but to answer it... I'm just trying to think who would fit the bill. And I don't want to give it to just people who are like, oh, well, they've got nothing to do. Like, I kind of want some of them to fit the bill.
Well, Rance had maybe jokingly said Drew Gulak. Now, his big gimmick in 205 Live was that it was a no-fly zone. He was very dead set against leaving the ropes, leaving the mat. But it was also something he did in Combat Zone Wrestling, where he was a big deal in CZW, but it was like a no hardcore zone. So if he was involved in it, I think that would be interesting. Like him somehow becoming the hardcore champion, but not taking kindly to hardcore rules.
Yeah, refusing to use weapons and stuff.
Aye, comedic relief.
It could work. Could work.
See, to be honest, like, if you want to take the hardcore title seriously, I would say that would have a good home in AEW. You've got a lot of. There's been quite a few lights out matches in its infancy. A lot of street fights and just, death matches in general, when you include them all. I think there's a good home, if it was ever to happen, for AEW to have something like a hardcore title where you've got these death matches and stuff. Have someone, a big name like Moxley, to be the centrepiece of that. And it's got an audience there, like people do dig these hardcore matches.
Definitely, that's a good idea. Actually, a good session. Moving on, this one comes from the boss, Mr. Jeremy Donovan, at Jeremy L. Donovan, one half of Keeping It Strong Style. Any thoughts on Shingo's title win? I mean, that will be mostly directed at me, I guess.
Well,
and then says, speaking of titles, when will there be a defence of the Quiz Time Championship? It's been way longer than 60 days. And then I am Caleb B. chimes in and says, I agree, Jeremy. I have a question. Why is the RNC contingency protecting the young boy?
Listen, first of all, Caleb, you're shouldering into these championship contentions more than Charlotte Flair, so just simmer down, pal, okay?
To be fair, I think I've had several conversations with him saying, yep, you will get you on for a title shot.
But there's a one-on-one rematch, and we'll look at it.
There is. We'll get there eventually, soon. Thoughts on Shingo's title win? Right, if you want a definitive breakdown of the entire show, please go listen to Keeping It Strong Style.
Of course.
I think they had, was it Chris Samson on this week? I think I've yet to listen to it. It's just kind of been chaotic for me this week. I've not listened to any podcast this week.
They only come out on Wednesday mornings for us now, though, so understandable.
What, the Keeping It Strong Style? Mm-hmm. No, it's out. I saw it popping up with my notifications.
It's like still Wednesday morning, 16 hours ago.
Yeah.
So you should have listened
sorry,
to it.
I thought it was Tuesday for a second there.
Right.
Because we're calling Tuesday. Thoughts on Shingo's title win? Obviously, like I said, if you want that definitive breakdown, go listen to those guys. I think only watched New Japan for a couple of years now. It felt almost kind of like Kofi's title win, in the sense that it was like, this is kind of different, because really you could probably name the same 4 or 5 guys that you expect to be in those spots to win the titles, and I think a lot of people thought, well, we'll probably not just go with the normal standard safe. Safe's not the right word. Go with Okada. So I would have to say it felt like when Kofi won it, even though we thought Kofi was going to win it, but it was different. It was new. It's not something we'd seen before. If it was for a while, a real shock title win that everyone was like on board with. I haven't saw any negative thoughts on this from on Twitter or anything, and I'll be interested to hear what the Keeping It Strong Style guy says. So that would be my opinion on it. And on top of that, he's already had like a pretty damn decent 6 months or 5 months, or what you want to say. He's had matches with Okada and Ospreay. There was a Tanahashi match, and there's one that's skipping my mind, and he was on the damn card. Oh my god, he was just on the card. Oh, Jeff Cobb. Mm-hmm. By the way, I fucking love Jeff Cobb.
Well, he introduces everyone to the show every week.
Yes, absolutely love him. I said I was really looking forward to that match. That was a match I was most excited about. Him and Ibushi, and obviously, at the end of it, Shingo obviously, it looks like we're going with Shingo and Ibushi as well. But yeah, man, Jeff Cobb, beast. But yeah, it just felt different. Shingo winning it, I like that. I like, no matter what it is, I like just sometimes if they just deviate from what we think they're going to do or the norm, and just give us something completely different. But in this instance, like I said, it seemed to be like a universally well-liked decision.
That's what I was going to say, because I've not got much to add. I've not seen Dominion, but I have not seen one negative critique of Shingo winning the title.
Nope.
It's been met with a lot of love, and I just want to give another shout out to Jeremy Donovan himself. This was 2 days ago on his Twitter. You've been talking about Shingo being top notch this last wee while. I know it's not advised to talk about Wrestler of the Year until after G1 is done, but Shingo has put together one heck of a resume so far. He's had Match of the Year calibre matches with Cobb, Tanahashi, twice with Ospreay, and twice with Okada again. Jeremy has a hard time seeing anyone surpass him, and as far as I'm concerned, Jeremy Donovan is he's a New Japan expert. He knows every detail, all the ins and outs. I mean, they do a podcast about it weekly. One of the best New Japan podcasts out there, probably the best, one of the most informative anyway. I would very much hold Jeremy's opinion. I would give weight to his opinion. So I think it seems like a very happy decision all round to have Shingo as the champ.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So just no one complaining about it.
Mm-hmm. Which is very rare.
Which kind of very, very rare. Right, moving on. Let me get back onto Twitter. This comes from Cy Powell at SGP Words. Halloween, Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. You can only keep one film series.
Oh, what was it? Friday the 13th?
Yep.
Listen, that's a no-brainer from me. That is the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not a huge Halloween.
No, neither am I.
No.
I don't
This guy just casually walks, and yet no one seems to be out sprinting him.
Yeah, that's that suspension of disbelief that there's just that one thing that I can't get by with these horror slasher flicks is when they're walking and they still catch up with them. I've never been a huge Halloween fan. I know Barry, the one who's having a bad love life apparently right now. He's obsessed with Halloween. It's not my...
Maybe that's what's affecting his love life.
He's too busy trying to picture Michael Myers when he's at that sweet spot.
Yep.
But if you got rid of the series of Nightmare on Elm Street, you would get rid of the third instalment, which was all his victims to date were in a mental home, and they were all trying to stay awake for like the whole film. And at the end of the day, if you've got a bad guy who gets you in your dreams, you are fucked.
Yep.
Freddy Krueger, he doesn't get a lot of praise these days, and I think that's unfair. Freddy Krueger's a fucking excellent baddie, horror baddie.
Do you remember Candyman?
Yes, I wasn't a big fan of the original, but I really want to see the remake or reboot, whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Right, moving on. Got a Sam here. A question here from Sir Sam, which I want to keep as the last question because I really like it actually.
Okay.
Moving on, we've got two questions here from one and only Dr. Smalls, aka Kyle Moores. What cool things are both y'all kids into right now? And the second question is, he says, and for a wrestling question, where should Buddy Murphy go next? And what would you do with him if you ran a federation? What are the kids into? Eldest is absolutely obsessed with football at the moment. Obsessed.
Right.
And the younger one's just just a maniac. In fact, he likes football as well. Actually, he's always a goalkeeper now. But he's overly dramatic. As soon as the ball touches his legs, because he broke his leg a while ago, touches his leg and he decides my leg's broken again and hobbles away. Only to be seen running at 100 miles an hour trying to steal some sweets from somewhere.
It sounds like that fucking... What's that Brazilian player's name? The wee arsehole.
Neymar.
You knew who I was talking about. Sounds like him.
And the second question, what would you do with Buddy Murphy? I wouldn't mind seeing it. I would have liked to see him in the G1. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think he ends up in AEW though. I think he's... Wherever he's going to watch him, definitely, I think he's just that damn good. And I think WWE... I rarely say WWE dropped the ball on people because I think that's just overused. But I think they did badly here because he's phenomenal in the ring. Aye. He really, really is. And I get a lot of people say, well, guy can't speak and all that. I get it. But, his wrestling stands out above a lot of people's.
Aye.
So, yeah, I could see him... I hope he doesn't go to places like, no offence, but I don't want him going to like Impact or NWA or anything. Yep. I think he could find himself a nice home in AEW, but like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the G1 or in the Super Juniors. So, yeah, like I said, let's hope he doesn't end in some promotion. It's difficult to...
It doesn't suit him.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, out of those releases last week, Buddy Murphy was the one that hurt the most. I didn't have much in the way of joy during his Blake and Murphy run in NXT. Thought it was decent enough, but this was around the time when I was doing the columns for 205 Live on WrestlingHeadlines.com. Like, I followed Buddy Murphy as a singles act from the beginning. Put in some absolute bangers with Kalisto, of all people. I'll never forget his series, and especially his... I don't know. I don't even know what it was. It was a hardcore match or a no DQ match or something, but basically it ended up being a stairs match with Mustafa Ali, and that was just an absolute work of art.
Yeah, I think, and I know people might laugh at this, right? But I mean, like, whatever, it doesn't mean anything. But he's like on that. He's Mount Rushmore of 205. Like when you used to talk about 205 and how great it was. Like, I think straight away 3 people come to mind, and it's Neville / Pac, Ali, and Buddy Murphy.
Aye, I would say those 3 and Gulak. Gulak for different reasons, but those 3 for their work rate. So Buddy Murphy getting canned was a sore one personally. I've always enjoyed Buddy Murphy, but I hate saying it, but he's just not got anything else going for him apart from Beast Wrestling. So with that in mind, I think the best place for him would be New Japan, because if he was to do a thing like a G1, he could just turn up, wrestle, put out bangers against a plethora of opponents, like all of them basically. If he didn't win much in the G1, he would certainly win the hearts of people watching. It's close to his home, so there's not much in the way of travel. There's enough gaijins there for him to sort of feel, not safe, that's not the word, like feel comfortable, not alone. And definitely could, like with the New Japan press conferences, they're allowed to swear and cuss however they want. He's a gobby Australian. That'll suit him down to a T. So
Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and Thomas Hearns. Legends, whose 4-way rivalry defined one of the greatest eras in boxing history. Relive their decade of dominance in a new Showtime sports documentary, The Kings, a 4-part series now streaming on Showtime.
I would say New Japan's the best place for Buddy Murphy to go.
Mm-hmm.
What I would do with him, just the same as we saw in 205 Live. Just put out banger matches, not even caring about like promo. Just fucking if he needs a mic, someone on the mic for him, fine. But just it was a joy to watch, and it's sad to see him go, especially when he was so prominent and present with Seth Rollins for so long. So shout out to Buddy Murphy especially.
Yeah, to see him in either the G1 or Best of Super Juniors would be awesome. Like just from a pure wrestling perspective. But just because you briefly touched on it, talking about the releases from last week, to me the biggest stunner was Braun.
That's a very bizarre one.
That to me, and I don't know if it was in our WhatsApp group or it was in the Social Suplex Messenger group, someone basically says that you get the impression if he doesn't wrestle for WWE, he's not wrestling again. So I just thought he was a proper WWE guy for life and would never be going anywhere, because whatever you want to say about him, he's always going to be that, like, in a sense what Big Show was, just like this spectacle, and like, well, he'll get a title shot from now and then because he's so big and freaky. So, but that was the biggest stunner out of them all for me.
It was bizarre. To answer Kyle's other question, my eldest, they only recently stopped watching Prison Break and they're watching it again. So that tells you what's going on with my eldest. My middle,
Wentworth Miller,
aye. My middle, they've recently been, not recently, it was last year, but they're a lot of friends out in our neighbourhood area, so she's out a lot. She doesn't really stick to one hobby. She's watching telly. I watch some Yu-Gi-Oh with her, play cards with her, play games with her, but she's always just got her hand in many pies. The young one, he watches some god-awful channels on YouTube, like the gamers that play games and muck about with the game's engines and stuff. So he's just YouTube channel daft. The other youngest, we've actually introduced a cat to the family who's sleeping beside me just now. So far he has made my wrist look like I've been having a chat with Freddy Krueger. Slept on my head and almost pulled down curtains and stuff. So 4 months.
Get rid of it.
Oh, he's a rescue cat. It's one of those ones I was just dropping out to the family there. You know what I mean, Ricky?
Terrible.
It's one of those ones I'll end up being a cat person in a week or two. But
brownie points.
Right, exactly, brownie points.
Right. Moving on. This one comes from Calf's other half, Jan the Man. And he is at Jan Zasico. What's your favourite snack?
This is very easy.
Go on.
A salt and vinegar packet of crisps. Or chips.
See, I like very salted or tomato ketchup crisps as well.
Tomato ketchup, I understand. Like, whenever I have a packet, I think, oh, do you know what? That was lovely.
Speaking of crisps, you know what I've not had in a long ass fucking time? Flaming Hot Monster Munch.
Neither have I.
Right, but my favourite type of snack? I do like grapes.
Right.
And currently I'm obsessed with Laffy Taffies. I ordered 2 boxes from Amazon like a couple of months ago, and I came out. I was in a shop earlier on and I noticed them, and I bought like 20 of them.
Do you know what's really nice, actually? I've changed. Well, I'll always revert back to a packet of salt and vinegar crisps. And when you're talking about the best biscuit, look no further than an Empire biscuit. But recently, I've been having like we sort of kid-sized bowls of blocks of extra mature cheddar. So,
right,
like, I cut the cheddar up into the size of dice, like small dice, a dozen or so, and then a handful of salted cashews. So the salt goes onto the extra mature cheddar cheese, and you've got that slight texture crunch with a cashew. Ricky, delightful.
Interesting. You know what I actually like as well right now? And the Foxy's biscuits. There's Foxy's jam and cream.
The classics.
No, not the classics, but it's so what it is. It's like a vanilla cream with a raspberry jam right in the middle.
That sounds a wee bit
biscuit
like
either side.
Viennese whirl, kind of.
But, it kind of looks like it, but it's not. Same colour, maybe a little bit like kind of same concept.
So,
Food.
ladies and janitors, cheddar of your choice cut into the shape and size of dice, along with an equal amount of cashews. The delicious salted cashews, of course.
I do like Greek yogurt with grapes, some dark chocolate, and some nuts in it.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Lovely indeed.
So, our next question comes from the one and only Mags at Podfather Mags.
Oh, Magsington. Mr. Mags.
With all the political turmoil, the only one from the last couple of weeks that, I'm still on good terms with. With all the political turmoil, constant environmental crisis, the population is fractured as ever, and seemingly no light at the end of the tunnel. What's your favourite cut of steak?
That's directed at me, I believe.
That's an quite easy answer, but go on.
Well, listen, I have tried every variation. I've tried medium, rare, well done, and I've even tried just good old-fashioned frying steaks. I've tried, Mags, with a frying steak, and steak is just disgusting. Like, full stop. It's one of the worst meats out there. Yeah, sometimes I'm listening to other podcasts and they're saying, oh no, this is how you do a steak, this is how you do a steak. Do you know what you do with a steak? You fling it in the bin and shoot the bin. That's what you do.
No, a medium rare steak. I do like the ribeye, but I would have to go with, without a doubt, a medium rare rump steak. And I think is the rump, not the backside.
It is.
Now, if you know Ricky,
Oh, yes.
I am an ass man, and this is where Caleb would have his Billy Gunn thing, and we should have had it play in the background. If you know me, it should come as no surprise to you that my favourite steak is the favourite part of the meat is from the ass. Cannot beat the rump. I actually had some rump steak the other week. Fantastic.
Maybe I haven't had it right. I tried it, like, we had frying steaks, and it was my suggestion. We do a food plan like a week ahead so we can sort out the shopping list. And my wife, she cooked it extra for me because I thought to myself, I can only handle well done. And it felt like I was chewing a bike saddle.
That's because you had it well done.
So maybe I'll have it one more chance. One more. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'll have one more attempt at a steak, and then 1 week I'm going to just like put out a video on Twitter destroying Mags specifically for this question. Love you, Mags.
Hey, the good man asked another question. What's your favourite hidden gems on Netflix?
Have you got any?
I like Queen of the South on Netflix.
Right.
I don't know if you ever saw it or heard of it.
I've seen adverts. I think there's actually adverts on the illegal NXT stream that I've got.
Oh, is there?
Aye.
I actually liked Queen of the South, and I don't know many people have actually watched it. I'm trying to think what else there is on Netflix that I watched that was like, it was pretty decent. I mean, you can give your answers if you wish, but I'm just trying to think.
Well, I saw this question the other night, and I suggested it to my wife because we usually watch our telly together. So I've got a few here. Hush, which is a kind of a horror, but more of a suspense film where there's a deaf woman lives on her own, and it's a home invasion film. Fucking top notch stuff. Like really dread, in the true sense of the word, a dreadful film. Bates Motel.
Right.
The early days of Norman Bates, very good. There's a film with Kiefer Sutherland and Dustin Hoffman called Flashback on Netflix, where Kiefer Sutherland is like an FBI babysitter for Dustin Hoffman, who has been taken out of jail, and he's like an extreme hippie guy. So hijinks, travelling the States, very good fun. A couple of Stephen King adaptations with Gerald's Game in 1922, they're very good. And lastly is a series called Orphan Black, where there's a woman.
Yes.
Have you seen Orphan Black, Ricky?
Mm-hmm. I saw adverts of it, I saw a few episodes.
It went down very well in this house. Same actress plays lots of different clones of one person, sci-fi heavy. Funny in parts, serious in others, wacky in others, but overall a right good romp, and I do recommend Orphan Black, if anything, for the superb acting skills of the actress who plays all those clones roles. So Orphan Black is my main shout from all that, and Hush.
I don't know if you ever saw Money Heist. I think it was Portuguese. I'm sure it's Portuguese. I don't know if it was in Portugal or maybe it was Brazilian. Obviously it was a Portuguese language. If you can get past the whole, they're not speaking in English, but you've got it translated in English, but kind of thing. If you can get past that, it's actually all right. There's a film, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but it's got Pierce Brosnan and Jackie Chan in it. Jackie Chan's daughter dies in a bombing. I just can't remember the name of it. It's pretty decent, if I'm honest.
Right.
I heard Don't Fuck With Cats is supposed to be decent as well.
I'll be saying that from now on.
That's true, actually.
By the way, see, as a very quick aside, you know how some members of my family, they have names very close to wrestlers' names?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this cat, it was already his name before, the shelter, this was his name beforehand, but it's Dexter. So, Dexter Loomis. I've got an architect, I've got a giant redwood, and I've got Dexter Loomis in the house.
I will say, I don't know if you watched it, but Schitt's Creek, I thought was just absolutely hilarious. Eugene Levy and his son were in it. I thought it was so funny.
Is that SCHITT?
Yes.
Right, aye.
Yes.
Yes.
And the final one, I'm trying to bloody remember the name of it, but it was a guy who basically stalked his girlfriend and like ended up becoming like a pure psycho, and I think ended up killing her and stuff, and then moved on to his next victim. Oh, what is your name? Is it you? Might be you. Thought that was pretty decent.
Talking about this actually. Yep, you're right.
So there's a few. Right, we have another one from Clive. Sorry, Clive from Rance. So he's got, for Clive, what's your favourite 90s sitcom and why? And for Ricky, what's your off-season Super Bowl pick? Can't pick Philly. Fuck, I wouldn't pick them anyway. On you go, Clive.
Well, you left out a key component there, and there is a reason for that. Rance's question was, what's your favourite black 90s sitcom? And
I thought I said black.
No. And again, Rance hasn't narrowed it down. It was teen black sitcom, because over in the UK there was a channel called Trouble. The Trouble Channel. Like your usual sort of kids TV shows like Heartbreak High. Shout out to Sam and any other Australian listeners. Heartbreak High is what Dawson's Creek wanted to be but failed at miserably. Trouble TV had, Hang Time, City Guys, Moesha. I know that Nickelodeon had Keenan and Kel and Sister Sister. Meet the Parkers, In the House. God, honestly, I was...
In the House!
You remember In the House?
Oh my God! Oh, that was fantastic.
Yep. In the House with LL Cool J, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, the Steve Harvey Show,
Oh,
which was Family Feud's very own Steve Harvey, who was a saxophonist stroke music teacher in a high school. Like, it's very, very hard to pick an absolute favourite because in my teens, absolutely loved coming home to watch all that stuff on Trouble TV.
Keenan and Kel's right up there, though.
I
That's
think-
childhood memories as sister. I've got one you never mentioned.
What?
Everybody Hates Chris.
I don't
I don't know if that was 90s or not, though.
I think that was actually later on Channel 5 over here, one of the main channels. But I
thought I liked that.
the wife's watched that and she thought it was good. But in terms of teen black sitcoms, I think I have to go for Keenan and Kel. Have to. But just the genre in general is absolutely wonderful. Love it. Fresh Prince as well.
Fresh Prince, yep.
Fresh Prince is up there as well.
Right, so Super Bowl pick. Everyone says Tampa, but I'm not sure.
Well, go for
Denver. See if Denver got Rodgers. I think it's them. Alright, here we go. If if no major injuries take place, I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, if Sean Waltman was playing and they ended up in the finals against Denver, then the other team would win because of the Bronco Buster.
Oh Christ! We should end the show on that. No, that was great.
You should be impressed that I know that they're called the Denver Broncos.
I know. I thought I said the Denver Broncos though. Oh, that's great. So those are my picks. This, and you like this question. From Rain Counter, Tolly again. Favourite penny sweet?
Oh, what a question. And I think that's very much for the UK audience. I'm not sure if Americans, Australians, they had the phenomenon that was you go into
a 10p packet, a 10p mix.
It's like you go into your local newsagents or your grocers, your convenience store, and behind the counter they had small sweets like candy, foam candies and stuff like that. And it was an absolute highlight of the childhood. There's no doubt about it. I've got two contenders for my favourite penny sweet. It's either the shrimp or the rhubarb and custard thing.
Oh no! Right, so I think cola bottle right straight away. Everyone loves cola bottle, right? I don't like the pink and blue one.
Now he's talking from experience
Gems,
here because Ricky's worked in a shop.
My dad owned a shop and I worked in. I grew up basically in a shop, in a corner shop. So in between, while being attacked either with knives or being racially abused, I would have my face in penny sweets.
Just those three?
Yes, that's how it ever took place. This is so difficult. Do you remember? Now, I think it was cherry flavour. I don't know if it was cherry. I can't remember. But they had a little bit of sugar on it, and they were white with like a pink wee top on it. The tip of it was pink. I can't remember the name of these.
Say that again. I think it.
So it was like 90% of it was white, and then at the top it was just like a little pink touch of pink, and it was covered in sugar.
Do you mean the things that when you ate them they dissolved instantly?
No. What are they? I don't know what these are called.
Campinos.
Kind of like these. Right, I'll send you it. Right, send you the photo and you tell me. When we were younger, they were shaped slightly different. And so I'm about to send you it right now on WhatsApp.
So it's not Campinos?
No.
There's the photo coming in.
Yep, it's coming to you right now.
Well, they're called the strawberry tarts. I can't remember seeing them in the penny sweet jar.
Oh, really? Do you remember the green and yellow turtles as well? I like them.
Fried eggs.
That's it. That's the one. I was getting to it. That is the favourite. Fried eggs.
I can't hate on that answer, but shrimp or rhubarb.
For anyone not from the UK, they didn't actually taste like eggs.
Aye, it's like small foam candy that you can literally, like, if you end up buying like the newspaper for the house or bread and milk and it says 97 pence, you can say to the shop,
3 penny sweets.
3 penny sweets. Aye, they were the days. They were the days. But thanks to inflation, a fried egg probably costs £1.50 these days.
That's it.
Fuck the Tories.
Definitely.
That's a great, fantastic
penny
question.
Sweets.
Penny sweets.
They're not made the same now.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not.
I think sometimes you see them at the tills. Those wee cherry things that you get these days. I'm partial to a wee cherry. I can't remember what they're called.
I know what you're talking about.
Just wee cherries the size of like a £2 coin or something.
I'm trying to think of what else was there.
I like wee foam banana as well.
They were good, actually.
Do you know what I'm a fan of? A lot of the shops, newsagents and grocers and stuff have those stands that have a packet of sweets for 39 pence or 3 for £1.
Yes, yeah.
They are so good. You can buy a packet of cola bottles, a packet of fried eggs, a packet of jelly babies. £1, mash them all together, and you've got yourself a fucking great Friday night.
I agree. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I've possibly missed. No, I think I got the ones that I liked. Did you know there's these dolphin shaped not penny sweets, are like 10 or 15 pence, and they're like turquoisey coloured, and they are fantastic.
No, I've not heard of these.
They're great. But I think I'm going with the fried egg.
It's populist choice, that one.
That definitely was a staple of your childhood. Fried eggs. The sweet. No, I think that's it for me, actually.
Okay. What a question.
It was. Right, we have 2 more. Do you want to answer this final one? Because I have no idea who this person is.
Ask the question, because I want to address this.
No likes, no nothing. We don't know who in the next wrestling guy. How badly has the women's evolution ruined wrestling?
Yeah, I saw that one and I didn't like it. I usually like the questions just to acknowledge that we've got it. I can't remember who they are, this person. Look at literally the last 2 episodes we just did, where we did a deep dive on the 4 horsewomen. We share no common ground with your question, I'm afraid.
So I'm looking for it. He answers, someone says, I watch a Dakota Kai versus Ember Moon match the same way I watch any wrestling match. That's 2 wrestlers I'm totally indifferent to. He replies saying, I find I'm fast forwarding every second of women's wrestling on WWE TV these days, even NXT. Why? Well, pal, I think you might just be a bit sexist.
Just a tad.
And clearly you are a fucking moron. Keep that in. I'm not taking it out, guys. Just an absolute fucking idiot.
You can. The main roster booking for the women is, as always, divisive. But personally, I think the NXT stuff's great. There's layered stuff going on. It's not just the NXT women's title versus X. You've got the women's tag team. I think that's been a great thing, adding the women's tag team titles in. It's given a lot of them a chance to shine. Look at Indy Hartwell, she's having the time of her life. Well, not from a kayfabe point of view. her and Dexter, they'll get together one day. But the tag team women's scene in NXT is doing wonderful. You've even got undercard stuff with the likes of Xia Li, Mercedes Martinez. Like it was actually the first column I wrote as part of the brand extension series as NXT's Women of War. Like they've got a sturdy history of having the best women wrestlers in the business, and I think it continues today.
Yeah, I don't get the question at all. It makes no sense.
You probably should.
Right, here we go. Final question of the show.
There is one more. I believe it's from
Is there?
Bang Bang Podcast.
Oh, I need to see that.
It was another xenophobic one.
Who sang the theme tune to Supergran?
Well,
Is that the one you were asking?
I think this comes from a let's slag people because they're Scottish thing. Now, I'm a big fan of the Bang Bang Podcast. Enjoy your hiatus after episode 50, which was an absolute riot. But that's clearly you guys are Scottish, let's just slag you off with some Supergran. But you'll be surprised to know that according to IMDb, the series music for Supergran was an Anthony Isaac, Dudley Simpson, Phil Coulter, and a certain Billy Connolly was involved in the music for Supergran. So put that in your stout and drink it. Bang Bang Podcast.
Cannot fucking wait to beat yours next week.
Oh, the sort of rage was right there.
Oh no, we're going to get humped.
No, it will be a pure 1-0 number.
It'll be close. But I'd love to beat them.
The Imp asked that last questions podcast episode, and I said it's probably going to be 1-0 or something.
He did. He didn't even say, what do you think the score will be? I think I'm pretty certain he goes, how many goals do you think we're going to beat you by, pretty much?
Telling you. If you look up victimised in the dictionary, it's just a Scotland flag. Fucking deep fried food, Supergran, and shite football.
Oh, come on, Scotland, don't let us down. Well, can you let us down? We have no expectation.
There was another question from Rance, actually.
Was there? I missed it.
It was the Pride Month one.
Oh, right, okay.
So we've got two more.
With it being Pride Month, what are some of your favourite LGBTQ moments? Can be in wrestling or just in general?
It's a tough one because, let's be honest, it's not really celebrated as much as it could be in the wrestling world. So I'm going to be super recent with this and suggest that I first saw him or her, or however you want to say it, as Exolicious in Lucha Underground, more commonly now known as Sonny Kiss. I think Sonny Kiss being unapologetically himself. His first appearance in AEW, I believe, was with cheerleaders and all that. So I would say, in terms of wrestling, Sonny Kiss is a positive with regards to the LGBT community. Okay, he might not appear that often, and that's one of those things that can go down a different road, but he's on dark enough, he's on dark elevation. So Sonny Kiss being front and centre in AEW in several ways, I think is a very good thing. Nyla Rose as well. So I think in terms of diversity, in terms of the LGBTQ side of things, AEW are doing not too shabby in that front.
I suppose Obama made reference to the LGBTQ community in 2014, 15, I think, in one of his State of the Union addresses, which I believe at the time was the first time that something like that has ever happened. But you nailed it when it comes to wrestling. But see, even not in related to non-wrestling, for me, like a favourite moment was probably, and you probably know where I'm going to go with this as soon as I mention the person's name, when I first met Kyle. Not going to lie to you. To me, just if you're asking me personally, first ever person, gay, man I've could say that's a real good friend of mine, and yeah, I would definitely put that down as a favourite moment.
That's a great answer. Shout out to Kyle Moores.
Literally can't find a better person.
That's true, and he's a teacher, which is a high.
Exactly.
It's not even a high pressure job; it's a high risk job in America. Like super high risk. You fucking hear about shootings over there all the time. So, whenever you see Kyle Moores pop up on your TL, give him a like.
Definitely.
I'm sorry, we've actually got two more questions.
What one have I missed now?
A certain Suede 137 has a question.
I know, but I thought that was just a piss take from him, so I intentionally ignored it.
Oh.
What's your favourite sticker album? Well, as Barry says, a good Panini one back in the day.
Aye.
Scottish Premier League one. You'd take stickers into school. You would trade your doublers. Haggle with each other.
I don't know if sticker albums were a thing in America, Australia. I think they were more just card oriented. But sticker albums, you'd get your Scottish Premiership, SPFL or SPL or however it was called back then. You'd get your album a couple of months into the season once all the transfers had been done, and you'd have all these empty rectangles in your magazine. I did have a WWF one, and I'm sure I had about 40 Texas Tornado Shinies doublers.
Yeah, I think I had the WWE one as well.
It had to be the Scottish Football Premier League every year.
Yep.
Loved it.
They were good days. Right, now this is actually the last question. From Australia's own Sir Sam. What is your favourite year of wrestling and why?
Do you have an answer?
Yes.
Go for it.
2016 is up there.
Okay.
But I would say 2007. I think Kurt Angle was in TNA or Impact at the time, and I think he pretty much held just about every single title. I think that was also the year of Batista and Taker had a real good feud as well, with Mania and Backlash and stuff. They had a last man standing match as well. 2007. I said I thought the stuff Impact. That was Impact at its absolute greatest during that little period. Mm-hmm. But I would go with 2007. I may say I could go. You could go some point in the 90s and stuff if you wanted, but I know. For instance, people will always tell you the real boom of wrestling was generally mid 80s to the early 90s.
Uh-huh.
Well, we were only born in 87 and 86, so I can't turn around and give that as an answer.
Yep.
I've changed it slightly. It's Sam's question just to be my favourite year of what when I was watching it unfold kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So I may go 2007.
Right. Well, it's interesting you say 2016 because that was a very good year. I think it was enough. 2016 was super to the point that you and I decided to do a podcast about it. I think being engulfed in the internet wrestling community, which was admittedly less toxic at that time, that did a lot in making me enjoy wrestling within the mid-teens of the 2010s. NXT's 2018 was fucking ridiculous, but just that start of NXT getting a bit more serious with their stadium shows and stuff like that, 2016 was a super year. But instantly, and Barry has been mentioned a few times in the show, 2005 was absolutely ridiculous. I'll remember it for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
So many highlights over the years. You had the Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels rivalry. you had the Batista Triple H rivalry, and the Batista basically becoming a big deal at the time before I soured on him. John Cena vanquishing the ever horrendous JBL. That was great. This was the sort of time where Kurt Angle was just becoming that wrestling machine. It was a big year for Kurt Angle. It was a massive year for Edge. Yes, 2006 saw Edge begin to get the world title, have his classic match with Mick Foley, WrestleMania, the classic rivalry with John Cena. But it all started in 2005 when his career catapulted from solid, very, very solid mid-carder / tag team specialist into a big deal with the Money in the Bank. Because as well, the Money in the Bank was brand new then, it was fresh, it was a new concept. It meant so much more than it does today, where it literally is just a prop. Edge suited that suitcase, that briefcase so well. And as fate would have it, the carry on with Matt Hardy, it was an absolutely pivotal year for Edge. 2005 was, and I think as well, Undertaker. You'd mentioned talking about Undertaker earlier, and it came up in a group chat the other night about who's the best version of the Undertaker. I would say Undertaker from the late 2000s is my favourite. Where there is the supernatural element to it, but he's there to get his MMA gloves on and get some action on the go. That was my favourite. So 2005 with the Randy Orton Undertaker stuff as well. Just so many classic rivalries over those 12 months. It's a year I hold very fondly in my heart. Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio as well. Just many top-notch rivalries, top-notch matches. Look up and down those pay-per-views, you were guaranteed an absolute screamer. Even random ones like Big Show and Kurt Angle and JBL at the Royal Rumble for the WWE title was a fucking screamer of a match. Obviously the Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels WrestleMania match, a monster of a match. The Triple H Batista Hell in a Cell, Eddie Guerrero Rey Mysterio ladder match, the Hell in a Cell between Randy Orton and Undertaker. Just so many fond memories. I wouldn't say they were my formative years, but it was a time where I'd not long turned 18 and there was a lot of, let's say, experimenting going on in terms of recreation, so lots of fun times. And I associate those fun times with wrestling. So 2005 by a long stretch.
It's a good old weed days.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate. The Zoot days.
Yep. Just cannot beat that. I think last point for me would be like, I think you kind of forget just when you think about it, the mid-thousands in that general 3-4 year period was actually really good. Like, I just whenever I used to think about it, I used to always just think about Super Cena just destroying everyone. But if you get past that and you start to look into it a bit more deep, you're like, do you know what? There's a lot of good stuff happening at that time.
Oh, an awful lot. Yeah.
I know that was your favourite, the ruthless aggression.
Yep. Although 2000, what a year that was.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you just isolate the pay-per-views. Like the two WWF's pay-per-views in 2000, they were all unbelievable. Like there was all something to talk about. So you get the street fight at Royal Rumble, the Hell in a Cell at No Way Out, the TLC at WrestleMania, Rock and Triple H with Austin coming back at Backlash, the Iron Man match at Judgment Day, Undertaker coming back as American Badass, King of the Ring, Kurt Angle making a name for himself, and that epic moment. I know that you were a fan of Undertaker chokeslamming Shane McMahon off the top turnbuckle through the commentary table. Fully loaded with Triple H and Jericho, an absolute beautiful last man standing match. Then SummerSlam, another TLC into the equation. The whole Edge and Christian Dudley's Hardy's stuff going on to the autumn fall season. Survivor Series as well in Armageddon with the infamous 6-way Hell in a Cell match. 2000's pay-per-views were top notch.
Yep. Oh, and that brings us to the end of the questions.
And I don't actually have a quiz sorted.
Neither, but I'm content because I thought it would be a relatively long-ish episode anyway.
We've done well. We've answered all the questions, even ones that we weren't fans of as well. But with that in mind, with one of the questions we got, and with us not doing a quiz, shall we work behind the scenes on getting the rematch sorted between the young boy Josh Smith and Raymond Cash himself, Rance Morris?
We either go straight rematch or we go fatal 4-way.
I think it's only fair that we go for a rematch and then do a fatal 4-way.
That's fine.
Because somewhere down the line, and I'm serious, we need to do an Elimination Chamber formatted quiz.
I like that, and like I said before, I think we were on with keeping it strong style. If when someone's eliminated, they get removed from the call.
Or, to be nice, when someone's eliminated, we can use their questions.
But then you need to think of questions like on the spot.
No, they'd have them in the bank. Either that or they would get fucking chucked off the call.
I know, but I can tell you right now, Caleb wouldn't prepare for it because he's winning the fucking thing and he knows it. And I also think Josh wouldn't, because Josh would back himself. I think Rance and Jeremy would be very efficient and would do it, but would also back themselves. But I think Caleb especially would be like, fuck that. The arrogance would come through. Despite what he says, he's going to win that shit.
I'm
telling you right now.
But I think a straight on one-on-one rematch, in terms of the Booker's integrity, we have to honour that.
That's fine. That's not a problem.
When it comes to Caleb, yes, he's got some memory on him, but he's more concerned with shredding those LBs right now. His mind will be elsewhere.
No, it's not. It's not, because he still talks about it to this day.
Like,
about getting his rematch.
What rematch? Who do you think you are, Charlotte Flair?
No, sorry, his title shot.
Aye, exactly.
Funny Caleb story. Caleb texted me last week, and it just sums Caleb up. And he was like, just wanted to check in on you. Felt I've not spoke to you in a while. What's been going on? And I think I hadn't actually spoke to him in about a week. And he was like, and I replied back saying, "Oh, good. In fact, you know what? I haven't spoken in a while." I was like, "We should set up a call for later on whenever you're free." To which Caleb replied basically saying, "No, fuck that."
So you have regular basic phone calls with our American friends?
I do. I mean, I've not had a phone call with some of them in a while. I think the last time I had a phone call might have been with Rance a few weeks back. But I speak to Kyle now and then on the phone call as well. Text Rob and Carl privately. Speak to Caleb. Caleb phoned me, I think it was best probably about 6, 7 or 8 weeks ago. He phoned me as well. I think he was in his car and he was driving. I was on the phone to Caleb for about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not one for phone calls in general.
I've not spoke to Josh in a while. Like me and Josh would actually reach out and call each other as well on Messenger.
We'll need to
once a month and stuff.
Need to phone the champ soon anyway. But I'm not one for social phone calls. My social life is WhatsApp, and I'm happy with that.
Yes.
I do a lot of phone calls at work, so apart
See, I'm the opposite. I'd rather just phone someone and speak to someone for 10, 15 minutes rather than dragging a fucking conversation out all day long.
Fuck that social interaction, man. That would freak me out.
Kill you.
It's a small talk. I can't go small talk. Like when you're in a barber's, it's like, you working during the week? Are you going anywhere on holiday? Nice weather.
No, I know what you mean.
I cannot stand that shit.
Oh, you're just getting a haircut?
Aye, what do you think I'm doing?
Oh, right.
Right.
It's been good. I'll leave the plugs to you though, obviously.
Yep. This has been the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, part of the Social Suplex Wrestling Podcast Network, where you can find other shows such as One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong, so Grown Men Watch This Shit, Great Match Generator, 8-Bit Suplex Podcast, Grave Consequences, and All Things Elite. Give us a 5-star review on the podcast app of your choice, or podcast catcher, or even applepodcasts.com if you can. A nice review, and if you even leave a review, I don't know, I've had a love-hate relationship with Apple, but maybe we can read out people's reviews on the show if they leave them. You can head over to socialsuplex.com where you can get those podcasts. You can also get columns, and you can get them sent directly to your email inbox if you press the subscribe button. On the show notes, you will see hyperlinks to our Pro Wrestling Tees page, where we've got some t-shirts from the chaps involved, our logos and whatnot. There's also a page where you can donate. If people want my spaghetti bolognese recipe, it costs you a $5 up front. So send a $5 into the donation page. Ricky's laughing away there. And I'll send you the thing. Telling you, honestly, if I make £20, 20 sterling, the greatest of British pounds, I will give you a standalone stand-up podcast with wrestling jokes. It will happen if there's £20 in there. And
folks, if since Clive's giving out recipes and stuff, I can give out recipes as well if you want. But if you want just photos of myself, I'll also charge you £5 a photo and send it to you.
Are these over and above your Facebook?
Yes, absolutely. These will be taken especially.
So these will be even more fap-worthy than your Facebook posts?
Will be more what?
Fap-worthy.
Oh, horrible.
You are not horrible.
Nah.
Where was I? So donate to the network in general. We're over at the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, and we are at Ricky and Clive on Twitter. Shout out to very big thanks to 99% of the people who gave us questions this week. Made for an interesting show. I do thoroughly enjoy these listener questions episodes. It's always a smorgasbord of content. It's good to see, and chat some shite as well. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for taking part, and thank you very much, Ricky, for returning.
Finally come back.
Aye, basically. No more sort of run-ins and then disappearing. It's good to have you back. Genuinely.
No more. The Brock Lesnar schedule is over now.
Aye, it's Mania season for Ricky. He's going to come back for a few weeks until it's the next Ramadan.
That's it.
That was racist, wasn't it?
Yep.
Right, ladies and gents, enjoy in your house. 6-man tag, winner takes all with the North American title and the tag team titles. That's my pick of match for the night, because let me tell you, Legado de Fantasma tag team matches are fucking fire. Good night, and Allah bless you all.
Take care, folks.
Thank you for listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and Thomas Hearns. Legends, whose four-way rivalry defined one of the greatest eras in boxing history. Relive their decade of dominance in a new Showtime sports documentary, The Kings, a 4-part series now streaming on Showtime.
For the ones standing guard, for the eagle-eyed, for the knights in shining armor, and for all those who support them, we are Grainger, your experienced safety partner, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, committed to helping keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com/safety, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.